Hi there, I'm Jennifer Tarando and I'm a mediator. If you have an upcoming online mediation in your case, you may be wondering what that looks like. So I'm going to walk you through an online mediation. Most online mediations are conducted on the Zoom platform. So we're going to talk about a Zoom mediation. When you have a Zoom mediation, you will get the sign-on information or a sign-on link from your attorney. If you are self-representing, you will get that directly from the mediator. And you'll want to go ahead and sign on to the Zoom meeting about 5 to 10 minutes before your scheduled mediation. And you will be placed in a virtual waiting room. And this is really just like if you went to a brick and mortar mediation office and you went in the waiting room and you're just waiting for everyone to get there to start the mediation. The only difference is in the virtual waiting room, you can't see and hear anyone and no one can see or hear you. Once everyone arrives, the mediator is going to bring everyone back or bring them into the Zoom meeting. And there's one of two things that will happen here. Either the mediator is going to bring everyone into a joint session in the main room, meaning everyone, all of the parties, the attorneys, any insurance adjusters, everyone can see and hear one another. Or the mediator may bring in parties with their attorneys separately and place them in individual breakout rooms. And this would be much more like a meeting in an office building where parties and their attorneys are placed in separate conference rooms, and then the mediator moves between the various conference rooms to meet with the parties, but the parties do not see or hear each other. If you have any concerns about whether you start in a joint session or go directly into a breakout room, talk to your attorney about that. I know as a mediator, I will always speak to the attorneys prior to the mediation and decide what's the best way to get started. And that takes into consideration both everyone's comfort level as well as what's really needed to get the matter resolved. So if everyone starts in the main meeting room, the mediator will spend some time talking about the mediation, some of the logistics, may ask the plaintiff to share their story so that everyone has the benefit of hearing directly from the plaintiff. And then the parties will also be moved into separate breakout rooms. Now we have, so either you start in the breakout room or you go into a joint session and then a breakout room. So what happens in the breakout rooms? The majority of the mediation is going to take place in these breakout rooms. And the mediator generally starts in the plaintiff's breakout room, spends some time hearing from the plaintiff regarding their story, talking about what they'd like the settlement to look like. A lot of times there's issues outside of a direct settlement number, such as a legal issue or a factual issue that needs to be discussed. I know sometimes as a mediator, I spend some time looking at medical records, looking at photographs, going into the other room where the defendants are and discussing these issues with them before we get to the numbers. Once settlement numbers are ready to be discussed, the plaintiff will typically make what's called an opening demand. And then the mediator will take that into the defendant's breakout room. It's probably a good time for me to mention that many cases have more than one plaintiff, more than one defendant, which just means there's going to be multiple breakout rooms, and it's going to take a little bit more time for the mediator to move back and forth through all of these rooms. In the defendant breakout room, once the defendant is given the plaintiff's demand, the mediator will spend some time discussing that number with them. And the defendant will make a return offer to the plaintiff, which the mediator then takes into the plaintiff's breakout room. And there will be a series of negotiations, back and forth demands and offers. There can be from a few to many. To better illustrate that, some cases settle in a 2-hour mediation, some in a 4, and some cases may take several mediation sessions to resolve. And just having an understanding of that going into the mediation will allow you to have less frustration with the process and hopefully a more successful mediation. So hopefully eventually an agreed upon settlement number is reached, and most usually at this time, then the attorneys for the parties will either go into another breakout room to memorialize the terms, or they may use email or phone or somehow record the terms of the settlement, and all of the parties will then exit the mediation, again, typically without seeing one another again, but sometimes all of the parties do elect to come together in a joint session to conclude the mediation. That's just really party preference. So I hope this gives you just a good overview of what your online mediation will look like. If you're not familiar with the Zoom platform, I highly encourage you a few days before your mediation, take some time, have a Zoom with some family and friends, make sure you know how to turn on and off your video, to mute and unmute yourself. You may want to play around with the breakout rooms. Do all of these things so that on the day of your mediation, you're comfortable with the platform and can focus on the mediation. Okay, I thank you for listening, and I wish you a successful online mediation.